Hi folks, long time no speak. It is me having a cup of tea on this dark October night with a blue full moon no less, hence the blue full moon behind me there, which is gifted to me by a friend. Um, yeah, I always seem to end up posting and doing things around the full moon. It's kind of weird, but I guess that's energy for you. Um, Before I forget, this is Pukka Turmeric Active Tea. I highly recommend this if you're a spinny like me. Anyone chronically ill, anybody tired, anybody with seasonal affective disorder, anybody just kind of struggling with dark nights, then this is the tea for you. It's light and zesty and a bit spicy. It's full of ginger and turmeric, which are really great for inflammation in the body. And it's just a nice energizing tea to take at, dark o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So I was going to post a written blog on my website, and that's something that I do occasionally, and it's where kind of most of my thought kind of processes go if they're not going into articles or fiction or poetry. If you have a look on this channel, on my website as well, you will see that they are very far and few between, and they are by no means showy or flashy. I do not have one of these ring lights or anything like that. I don't have a proper setup. I'm sitting talking to my laptop camera. Finally, actually got a new laptop. Hooray! This is so exciting. It's taken a really long time. 700 quid. Oh my god. And I got a new monitor, which you can see behind me as well. So yeah, I've got a new desk set up, which is great. And it was actually the bursary that I got for the diverse critics course that I was part of. Got a bursary of £1,500 to kind of really kind of up my skills in basically culture journalism, with a couple of other mentees. That was funded by Creative Scotland, which was great. And it's actually only just winding down to a close, having started in January this year. And it was supposed to be finished by the end of June. They really wonderfully have carried it on and been working with us due to the fact that everybody's been massively impacted by the pandemic. I'm not going to talk a lot about that because, oh my god, I talk about it all the time and we all do. So I'm not going to hover. But yeah, that was really, really lovely to have a kind of an amount of money, a bursary going towards my development as a writer. These kind of things are few and far between. And the fact that this was a programme specifically aimed at marginalised, including disabled writers who were wanting to kind of up their profile with journalism, I think, yeah, that's been really fantastic, and long may it continue. I hope that it does, because, it's just been fantastic, and the support from Disability Arts Online has been incredible. They've gone way, way above and beyond what their kind of Call of Duty was, checking in with us and making sure that we're all doing okay. And yeah, that we're getting our pitches written and all the rest of it for different places. So it's been a great experience. Yeah, I went on a tangent. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit, I suppose, about a sip of tea, about kind of where I've been, because I couldn't believe it. I looked at my blog and hadn't posted for a year, and the last thing I'd written was, I think the title of the blog was Moon Magic. And it was about sort of this time of year with the harvest moon, which was September's moon. And a kind of feeling of change and slowing down, and I think that it's really appropriate that my next installment, 1 year later, oh my god, kind of ties in with that. So 2020, you have been an absolute bitch of a year. It's up there with the worst, so I know everyone is feeling that. Yeah, like, I guess to some of you, like, I don't know how many people out there are gonna even bother having a listen to this. I think quite a lot of people quite like reading a blog, myself included, but there's something as a creator as well about just being able to sit and talk to a camera, much like talking to you. more directly, which I quite like, so hence that. I'm sorry for all of the reflections in my glasses, by the way. I don't know how to get around that. I can try tilting slightly differently, but it's gonna happen. I don't know. If anybody out there is a person who vlogs and who's also nerdy and specky, then give me a shout. Tell me what to do to get rid of the reflections on my specs. So yeah, I suppose this is kind of like a bit of an update because it just feels like it's been an absolutely insane year. I think my last video post, my last vlog was me sort of spinning out back in March when all of this was happening. I was getting really pissed off at the lack of clarity, particularly in the arts, around funding and what creatives and freelancers are supposed to do, because I think by mid to end April there was still no word about what creative practitioners and freelancers were doing. Obviously we've had some support now from HMRC, from the government, that's come through our self-employment tax returns that we do annually. If you're self-employed, you'll know about that. So yeah, there has been something, but it's been slim pickings, shall we say, and it's just not been organised well. Again, I'm not gonna like hang on to that and go down that avenue, but I actually kind of lucked out with that, in the sense that my last 3 years of earnings, my final year, as far back as that goes, was the tail end of my freelance life before my breakdown in my health, so it had a little bit more income to go off of. Don't get me wrong, like I only have seen £1,000 total from the HMRC for that support because I've just earned nothing, you know, like I got sick, I had to stop working, I took a year out pretty much, and I've only really been, you know, writing in any kind of professional capacity properly for 2 years now, and a huge chunk of that has been writing my novel. Yes, she's talking about it again. I have updates. I have updates. There's been progress, which is exciting. So yeah, in the last, well, before I go into the last year, I suppose the thing that has kind of been most at the surface of my mind, I suppose, lately is that we're now in October 2020. Jesus, how did that happen? And yeah, for anybody that follows me on Twitter, you might know. If you don't know, it's fine. But I lost my mother-in-law on the 12th of October, and that was obviously really difficult. And I was taking a couple of weeks off of work, and that was just awful. To experience that during these times, this pandemic. She was diagnosed terminally ill 2 years ago. She's fought cancer for about 5 years now. So we kind of knew it was coming, but her health really went downhill in March. So the whole of that last 6 months, whatever that is, has been just incredibly scary because rules have constantly been changing. Nobody's known what's going to happen, and there was a point where she was rushed into hospital and we were told that we wouldn't see her again, and that was it. And luckily she got home, and then towards the end when she was taken into the hospice, there was only one visitor allowed. So I mean, there's families all over the country who are going through this, and it's so hard, but it's also so completely surreal. And you know, I think I would not blame anyone if they, for these reasons, haven't really processed the loss of someone, because I know that I haven't properly, and it just sucks. So anyway, get that out of the way. I just wanted to mention it because I know some people, you know, might be wondering about that. So that's kind of where I'm up to at this point. I'm just really back into the swing of things and work again. I am still editing my novel because this is the exciting thing. So I did another video about getting a writing mentor through the Write Mentor summer program, mentoring program, with the incredibly talented and incredibly wonderful Amy Beashel. I'll link to her down below. Anything I'm referencing I will link to down below in the comments section, so you can have a check through that. yeah, Amy chose me as her mentee, and we started working together on my manuscript in June of this year, which was a little bit tricky because at this point I should have been finishing up with Diverse Critics, but they were obviously trying to be supportive, and we were talking about extending that and dealing with different deadlines for things changing and things. So it was a wee bit sort of crammed, but Amy read the manuscript and gave me incredible feedback, so like such helpful feedback. That is like, having had it now, like I can tell you, like hands down, the most helpful thing as a developing emerging writer is to have a mentor who can steer you right, tell you where you're going wrong, like tell you where you're going right as well. Like getting a pat on the back, that's something, maybe it's a Scottish thing, but we don't always give ourselves a pat on the back when we deserve it. So it was really nice to hear the really good things and the things that she loved about it. You know, that was such a boost of confidence that yes, you know, I can do this, and I don't need to kind of go and bury it in a garden somewhere and pretend it never happened. um, so yeah, yeah, Amy read it, gave me some feedback, and then we decided that I should rewrite the plot of one of the protagonists. So there's two protagonists, Isaac and Jess, and Jess's story was just a bit quiet. And this was something that I kind of knew myself, but I wasn't entirely sure about what to do about it or how to fix it. And I think that's something that any writer can relate to. So we kind of brainstormed a bit, and I ended up mentioning an idea that I had actually included when I was doing the outline for We Are Fractals. And I was so excited when Amy was like, this is a great idea, you should totally do this. And I was like, yes, I can get it in the book. Because I had felt like it was really crammed as it was. It's a YA, you know, it's a contemporary romance, so it's a kind of like friends to more than friends to, oh no, there's trouble brewing, you know, is everything going to work out kind of thing. And it's pretty like hardcore. There's like pretty roller coastery. There's a lot that happens, particularly in Isaac's life, on a very emotional level. And I kind of was so excited to really dig deep into Jess and be like, okay, what are you most afraid of? And what is your obstacle going to be? And I absolutely loved it. I just loved it. I just loved it so much. And I was so terrified at first. I think I sat stagnant for 2 weeks, just like with this idea in my head, like, I don't know how to get this on paper. But of course, as happens, you start scratching away, and then it just, oh, it just pours out of you, and that's just the best feeling. I loved being back in that place where it's almost like, you know, like the story is in control of you rather than the other way around, and then it just goes. Like that is the best feeling. And I was really surprised at some of the places that Jess took me to. It was just fantastic. So rewritten it, edited it, had to kind of piece it all back together and make sure that everything was consistent and threaded through properly. And I think I've done 2 edits since that point, and Amy's still to come back to me on one of those, but like we kind of agreed that we weren't that bothered about, you know, like absolutely finishing completely before the showcase in September, because we both had like other commitments and things going on in life, and totally like was like, yeah, let's just let it take its time to get where it needs to be, which is so great, you know, to be able to do that. And so wonderful of Amy as well. You know, like I've absolutely gained a friend in this process, like as well as a writer buddy, which is just amazing. That's what you want. That's kind of the ideal situation. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of at a point where I'm going through a couple of beta reads as well, just because I want it to be as good as it can possibly be. I dipped my toes in query waters last summer. Just when I finished it, I'd had a couple of people read it, and I got a lot of full requests, but ultimately no offers, and that's just something that happens. I think I think I probably queried about 10 agents in the UK and the same in the US, there or thereabouts, and had some really great feedback and had kind of invitations to resubmit or invitations to submit next books and things like that, or like even in a couple of occasions proper back and forth conversations as well, like on this novel. And you know what, like that I definitely take as encouragement. And I got a request from basically my top agency during the Write Mentor showcase. So I have said hello, I have said I'm very excited to hear from them, and that I am just working on some edits and finishing things off and just making sure that it's right. And obviously I've had a lot going on in life, so I gave them a wee heads up as well that there's, you know, probably been a bit more of a delay than there should have been. And it might not come to anything, but ultimately I have to do my best. I have to know when I send it that I really have done my best. And obviously an agent, depending on what they're like, an agent can be somebody who still wants to work on it with you, or they might want it to be so brilliant and ready to go that they send it straight off to a publisher and they want an editor to work on it with you. Whatever it is, I just know that I need to do the best job I can before I hit that button, you know? So that's super exciting. Hoping to get that all kind of tied up and sent off by December. So yeah, that's a good feeling. That's been kind of the biggest part, I think, of this year as a writer. It's so strange, like obviously we're all kind of feeling like we're still technically in, we should be in April, May time, because the pandemic has just sucked time down the sink. And I really can't believe that a year ago now I was starting my screenwriting course, because I did a 22-week screenwriting course at Screen Academy Scotland, which, by the way, if you're interested in screenwriting, it's absolutely fantastic. Such a good course. 200 quid. I think I did ask at the time if they could make it like tiered access or whatever kind of installment payments, but it was a one-off. It was like a one-off payment. But yeah, that was fantastic, and that got the end of that got hit by the pandemic, so we actually didn't wind that up until just about the beginning of May. So that was October last year through to May. And in October last year I also did a 10-week basically business startup course. It's like entrepreneurship for creative freelancers at Codebase in Edinburgh. It's part of Creative Informatics, and the course itself is called Creative Bridge. I will link to a wee video that they made about it below. Spot yours truly. But it's just another fantastic course, and it's free, which is the best thing, because I'm all about the access as a disabled creative. So that kept me pretty busy, and then the Diverse Critics course was January it started, and it's only really just finished up now. So it's been pretty full on the work front, which is no bad thing, because it's been nice and it's been distracting through the shitstorm of life and everything else that's been going on. So yeah, it's definitely funny to find myself at this time of year. I always struggle with the onset of winter, in the sense that I definitely have seasonal affective disorder. I actually now have a sad lamp, or a Lumi. I think the brand is Lumi, which is just at the corner of my desk. You can't really see it, but it's super bright, like blindingly bright. So I now sit at my desk for half an hour with that blaring into my eyes first thing in the morning, and I think it's helping. And I'm trying to go out for at least 2 walks every day when the sun is shining. So yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, I think losing my mother-in-law, my mom-in-law, like that really hit the reset button. It made us stop and take a step back, because my husband's been working really hard as well. And it just, you know, sometimes you have to practice what you preach, and I definitely am someone who talks a lot about pacing and listening to your body and being aware of when you're pushing too hard and allowing yourself to be okay with that and really kind of accepting wherever you are in your physicality and your mentality. And sort of, you know, trying to find the self-care in every day and in whatever way that is for you. Like at the moment, you know, a cup of my favourite tea is an act of self-care. Putting a lemon in my tea, there's a slice of lemon in here, and it's literally just like, that's a slice of happy. You know, one tiny piece of a lemon just, you know, makes all the difference. So I'm trying to fill my day with all of these little things just that make it brighter, that make it positive in some way, and that remind me that I am doing something for me. I am drinking an anti-inflammatory tea that smells amazing and tastes super good. I'll have another drink of it. You know, I think that I actually was heading for burnout again, and that's something I promised myself I would never ever do, because the first and last time that I lived through that, it was just horrendous. I was so ill. In early 2017, I was so ill, you know, and I couldn't leave the flat for a couple of months at least. And you know, I still have chronic fatigue. I have never recovered. This is the thing I should say. I've never recovered from that, and I've had several different diagnoses since that point. Which, if you've not seen me or heard me talking before, just to reiterate, I have fibromyalgia, which is a pain disorder. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a disorder of the connective tissue. So the easiest way to describe this would be that you're kind of made of cement and I'm kind of made of, you know, silly string. I'm just not glued together very well, and my body doesn't produce muscle very well, and my joints like to crack and pop and move out of place and things. And it can make you pretty fatigued because your body's overextending constantly and your muscles are always contracting to try and kind of compensate for that excess extension, which actually we're not very aware of. We've got really crap proprioception. And POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia or something like that. Anyway, it makes your heart go boom really hard and fast all the time. It's kind of annoying. Dysautonomia is another one. You know, I also have, you know, mental illness. I have generalized anxiety disorder. Living with anxiety, a lot of us can relate to that, I'm sure. It doesn't make everyday life easier, but it definitely reminds you to stop and smell the roses. Just take your time and breathe. So I wasn't really doing a lot of that, as you might have guessed. I was pushing pretty hard, as is kind of a trait with people with high functioning anxiety. I also this year have been chasing an assessment for autism spectrum disorder. I am just convinced that I am on the spectrum somewhere, having met so many women, so many people who are neurodivergent, and actually quite, well, in fact, the majority of my friends are neurodivergent. So many different things have been kind of clicking into place over the last couple of years, but particularly at the start of this year, for the Diverse Critics programme, I reviewed a beautiful film called Seeing the Unseen. It's an Icelandic film. I'll link to it below. You can rent it on Vimeo, I think, for £6, which sounds like kind of a lot, but honestly, this film is so beautiful. And it basically documents the life of women of all ages living in Iceland who have been misdiagnosed their whole lives with various different disorders, diseases, when actually they've been living with ASD or, you know, are autistic, and they've never known it, and it's made their life incredibly difficult. And I basically sobbed the whole hour of this film, and it just, every beat just hit home. I also, in the summertime, read a gorgeous middle grade book called A Kind of Spark by Elle McNicholl. I'll link that below as well. And it's a beautiful book that follows a child protagonist sort of through a year of school, and the experiences that she had just, oh, like it brought up so many memories. It brought up so many memories just of school and being bullied and not fitting in, and difficulties as well with like teachers thinking you're too sensitive or not understanding you, or like even just, oh, these amazing descriptions of like the feeling of sitting under the fluorescent strip lights, because I used to get migraines all the time as a kid, and we didn't really know why, and just things like that. And oh, just the physical descriptions are just so beautifully done. Like Elle is such a wonderful writer. She's very talented. In fact, that book was selected for that month's Waterston's Children's Book of the Month. So yeah, you can tell it's a great book. Definitely check it out. So yeah, yeah, it's obviously a deeply personal thing for every individual and very unique to them as well. Um, but yes, I think for me, I know I'm neurodivergent. I've been labeling that way for some time, but I don't know. There's something about having a formal assessment that for me, I think I would get some kind of empowerment for that. Like I wouldn't want to ever take a voice away from anyone else. I think as a writer, um, there's a there's a feeling there, I suppose, of just wanting to, if you want to also be a voice for other people sometimes, it can make it just that little bit easier. And like I'm very fortunate that my Facebook groups and my network are all kind of like, no, like you are what you are. You need to just own it, and you don't care what anyone else thinks, basically. And they've listened to my stories, my journey, my experience, and basically they've all said, yeah, you sound like exactly like me when I was getting diagnosed. Like this is the same story, this is the same pathway, this is the same journey, to diagnosis. So if anything, it makes me a bit hopeful that I will actually get there at some point. It's a 2-year waiting list on the NHS if you're an adult looking for an ASD assessment, but thankfully there is a couple of pathways that I've managed to find where hopefully I could get a diagnosis sooner. I will maybe update and do a proper video about it at some point down the line and talk about traits and symptoms, or if that's even a word for it, but traits and experiences and what kind of has happened and what happened with diagnosis, because it's a really big topic, and I think not enough people know about it, and certainly seeing the unseen and a kind of spark. The whole kind of point of these pieces of art are to kind of show us that autism is very misunderstood in women in particular, and it's because they don't present in the typical kind of ways that you would see often in males, like what people associate with the word autism. It's the same with disability, people see a wheelchair or that's what they think of. With autism, people think of one kind of stereotype, and in fact there is an absolute spectrum of experience, and very often high functioning females can mask really, really well. They can mimic to the point where someone will think that's a normal person. They can be leading scientists, they can be public speakers, they can be, any kind of multitude of things. In fact, something that Seeing the Unseen talks about so beautifully is that many women have many different interests, and you'll actually see women who over their lives they will accrue degrees in several different subjects, and they will be highly knowledgeable and sort of very what's the word I'm looking for, brain fog, anyway. They have a very highly specific knowledge. I like including brain fog moments, I don't plan them, but when they're there it's like, yeah, this is what I live with. Yeah, so it's a beautiful film. Definitely check it out. And anyway, that's kind of another thing that's been going on. So it has felt like the quickest year ever, but it's also felt like it's been completely jam-packed, and actually being forced to stop and press the pause button for the last 2 weeks has been really useful. on all counts, I'm better rested. I am kind of listening to myself again. I am even seeing my novel clearer for edits, you know, like that way when you're so close to it, you just do not see the wood for the trees, and it's kind of stressful. And I realised the other day I was reading through like where I'd kind of gotten to, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's a little sort of point that I really should have noticed and I didn't. Um, so it's been good to get the distance in that sense as well. Why am I doing a video? I don't know. I just have felt a little bit disconnected from sort of personal creative writing, and I think that's just largely the state of the world. I've read all of, I think, 2 fiction books since March, and I usually read every single night, every single day. I read books. That's been difficult. I've managed better with non-fiction, but even then I've still only read a handful. For some reason I'm reading a lot about North Korea. It just is totally capturing my interest at the moment. I don't know why, that's a bit strange, but anyway, I think writing is the same. It takes so much of you. You know, you'll know that if you're a writer, you just put so much of you into that. You put your heart and your soul into your work, and when you're absolutely shot to bits knackered, sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. So may that come back, hopefully, but you know what, the novel is still going, and that's taking focus, and I think that's a really good thing. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. The feedback's just been amazing, so fingers crossed. Come on, universe, I'm willing, universe, to throw me a bone, you know. And then I can get started on book 2, which is super exciting. I've actually got 2 book ideas. One's another contemporary romance YA, and another one is kind of like basically like a sci-fi space opera with a kick-ass disabled protagonist. And a lot of politics and various things going on there, which I'm just feeling the need to kind of maybe just bite my teeth into and really have at it, but we'll see. I think the headspace for that's maybe not going to come quite yet until I've sort of dealt with book 1. But it's an exciting space to be in. I hope I hope that everyone else out there and anyone watching this is doing okay. Easier said than done, I know, right now. And shall I say is doing okay in these strange times, because that's what everybody is saying at the end of every email these days, and quite rightly, they are very strange times. But you know, I hope that you're finding the fun in something, and God, I hope you're not broke and in a dire situation, because I know so many people who are. If you're a creative practitioner, please go and check out Creative Scotland's website, because they have launched a hardship fund. So if you are sitting there freaking out about how you're going to pay your next bill, go and check it out. They cover all kinds of disciplines of artistic practice. You can ask for between £500 and £2,000, and it's a one-off award. And it doesn't matter if you've also received support from the government through the self-employed income support scheme like I did, providing that amount hasn't exceeded 10,000 a year, or 10,000 for the year, I think. It's all on the website. The eligibility criteria and the guidelines are there, so go and check that out. And good luck if you are applying. To round off, I am still very passionately trying to push for better access for disabled writers and creatives. It has actually improved so much, as we all know, through the pandemic, because everything's online. And of course, they all said, oh no, we can't do it, it's too hard. And then bang, they did it. And guess what? It was easy. I am looking at you, so many organisations that I can't name. But you know what? We have to be thankful for the things that have happened, and I really am grateful to see so many amazing, incredible literature events online for free. Oh my god, that is just unheard of. That's brilliant. So yeah, it's been so exciting to watch the developments, and actually, yeah, just earlier in the month I participated in a fantastic live event, which was a launch for a brilliant manifesto. I'm going to link it below. This project is kind of just exactly what we need right now. It's called Not Going Back to Normal, and it's a disabled artist's manifesto. And it's been created by the amazingly talented Harry Josephine Giles and Sasha Sabin Callahan, and that's in partnership with The Collective and was funded by Creative Scotland. And it's basically 49 disabled artists creating art about being a disabled artist. So there's quite a lot of pieces that are about the experience of living and practicing as a disabled artist and lack of access and support and, you know, kind of stigma and various things like that. There's a lot of really big themes that are brilliantly explored. And yeah, I have a poem in it called Imagine, and this was a response to the brief actually, which said, if you can imagine a world where, you know, disabled artists are included, you know, it's an equal world between people who are disabled and people who are not disabled yet, what would it look like? And I just kind of sat there and thought, okay, let's imagine. And it's just a very short, simple poem really about what our spaces for art could look like, our galleries, and how it would feel to step into such a space as a disabled artist, or even just as a disabled person. And that feeling of being included by everyone else in society, which could be achieved so easily as well. And I was just so delighted and incredibly humbled to be one of the one of the speakers at the launch event. It was just incredible. What a privilege to be asked to read at that. So that was that's been an absolute highlight of my year. A beautiful flame against the dark, and a very welcome one at that. So thank you very much to Harry Josephine and to Sasha for including my work in that. Please go and check it out. It's a fantastic, honestly, it's such a fantastic manifesto. The work is just beautiful. So yeah, there's more work to be done on the disabled front, and myself and my friend Ever are working on a secret project, which I can't say that much about, but yeah, we're working on something that will hopefully change the face of publishing as we know it. Not quite, but it should make access in publishing and to publishing a little bit more demystified and a little bit easier to understand, and it should hopefully help a lot of people. So say no more about that at the moment. But yeah, needless to say, I'm excited to get started on that, and I think Ever is as well. I think that's going to be a really good one. God, and then before we know it, it's going to be Christmas, and then it's going to be New Year, and fuck knows what's going to happen. I'm not even trying to guess right now. I just know, I'm sure we're all in the same boat. I'm missing my family, oh, so much. Oh, the thought of a Christmas that isn't what it normally would be is quite, it's just heartbreaking and sad and really tough for everybody. Yeah, who knows. But anyway, that's enough chatterboxing from me. That's a very long video. I decided just to sit and do this as a chat because, well, it's been a year. But now that I have my shiny new laptop, I might start actually doing proper, like, actually edited videos with, like, more going on. So yeah, that'll be fun. I think easier, maybe. No, I can actually hear kids outside. Everybody's going trick-or-treating. This is so cute. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna shut up. That's my update. That's where I've been this year. Trying to just do some self-care and tap back into nature and hunker down for these darker months. And basically make the most and the best of every day as best I can. It's not always an easy thing to do. So I hope that you are well and safe wherever you are. Hope that you are taking care of each other and more so of yourself. I don't know when I'll next do a video. Hopefully it won't be as long as a year. I really don't think so. And yeah, that's it from me. I'm sending you all love and light. Take care.